Hey guys, welcome to the Quick Take Sports Podcast. This is Ty.
And this is Chris coming at you live with another video. Now, today we've decided to do underrated and overrated top 5 list in the NFL.
We know this episode is going to be a little controversial, so we apologize in advance if one of your favorite players is on this list, but this is all our personal opinion. Chris, why don't you start us off if you're your first overrated player?
My first one is Ben Roethlisberger. Now, I think he's just getting up there in age, and he's kind of falling off physically. You see those practice videos with him walking around completely covered in ice and all kinds of other stuff. I think he's about ready to retire, and I just think he's on the downward slope.
The quarterback I have on my list is Cam Newton of the Carolina Panthers. I believe he's overrated because he's really only had one true good season in the NFL for Carolina when they went to the Super Bowl or whatever a few years back, and he really hasn't done anything since. He's not an elite quarterback. He's not a top 10 quarterback. He might be for fantasy-wise, but for actual talent-wise, Cam Newton is not an elite quarterback in the NFL. His defense has carried him.
I have the person who is supposed to be the kind of the face of the franchise in Miami, Ryan Tannehill. I don't think he's really. I don't think he is what everyone thinks he is. His numbers are average at best most seasons. His numbers are mere starting quarterback of the Bengals. Andy Dalton most years, and that's from seeing Andy Dalton play, that's just not great numbers. So I think he just gets a little more credit than he needs.
I also have another quarterback on my overrated list. He's not currently on an NFL team, and this is going to be very controversial, but I feel like Colin Kaepernick is definitely overrated. Put the politics aside, just talent-wise, Kaepernick is not a starting quarterback in the NFL. Kaepernick took his team to the NFC Championship a few years back, but the team had one of the best defenses in the NFL that year. And he had so much talent around him on offense that Kaepernick was just like a better version of RG3. And we all know RG3, not a good quarterback. He's a good college quarterback. NFL-wise, is just absolute trash.
I'm going to step to the defensive side for 1 second here, and I'm going to say Clay Matthews for my other underrated player, or overrated player, sorry. And I think another thing for him is just the age. He's getting up there in age, and he started to fall off. His production started to fall off. And I think here in the next couple of years, you'll see him retire.
A player I have that's overrated with age is Jimmy Graham for the Seahawks. He's a tight end. For the past couple of years, he hasn't been putting up any numbers, and people still think he's a top 5 tight end in the NFL, which is kind of sad. Back in New Orleans with Drew Brees, the only reason why his numbers were so well was because he had Drew Brees as his quarterback. He has Russell Wilson now. Russell Wilson's not going to throw 400, 500 yards a game like Drew Brees does. Russell Wilson's a good quarterback still, but he's not going to put up the Drew Brees numbers, and that's why Jimmy Graham's stats were so inflated in New Orleans.
I have one more quarterback on my list as well, and this one's a little debatable, and you may get some pushback. Joe Flacco, I have on here. I think
that's overrated.
Yeah, I think he gets reputation as being one of the elite quarterbacks in the league, and I think guys like Matthew Stafford are better than he is. I think even given a couple of years, I think Kirk Cousins could be better than him. So I just think that not only is he beginning the downturn of his career, I think that he's just underperformed.
Another overrated player I have on my list is T.Y. Hilton, Colts wide receiver. I thought he was overrated before last season, but this year's really proven to me that he really is overrated. Without Andrew Luck, T.Y. Hilton has done absolute nothing. I know the quarterbacks he's had thrown to in the past couple of weeks has been absolute trash, but as a number one receiver of that team, he should still be putting up good numbers, and he's just dropping passes and not putting up the numbers he should be putting up as a number one receiver.
My last one is Pierre Garçon, and this is kind of an age thing and kind of just a drop-off thing. I think he has the potential to be better than he is, and a lot of people still think of him as a number one wide receiver in this league, but times are changing, and I just don't think he has what it takes.
The last person I have on my overrated list is Todd Gurley, the Rams running back. I know a lot of people love Gurley. They're like, oh, he's going to have a bounce-back season. I just don't see it. He's had a couple good weeks so far this season, I guess, but Gurley's just not a great running back in the NFL. He's a little explosive sometimes. He has some good third down plays I've seen in the past, but Gurley I just don't see as a number one running back in the NFL. I'm sorry.
All right, I'll jump right into the underrateds with Todd Gurley. I'll just go with this. I disagree.
I just don't see Gurley as. I just think he's very overrated. Underrated running back I have. He's underrated because of the fact that probably half of you listening have never heard of him. Javorius Allen, the Ravens running back. Danny Woodhead was the old running back for the Ravens, I believe. And Javorius Allen came off the bench for him. And so far this year, he's done incredible. I've liked him a lot in the past. I always thought he should be a starter. And he's finally getting the chance to. He's getting a lot of minutes in Baltimore. And Joe Flacco, I don't really think he's overrated, but I don't think he's underrated either. I just think we all know who Flacco is. And I think Allen's going to get a lot of playing time this year and will show us his true character.
I have two quarterbacks on this list, and I'll start with one of them. Phillip Rivers. I think he's a lot better than people give him credit for. He puts up Flacco-esque numbers every year, and I know how I said Flacco is underrated, but I think Phillip Rivers having Flacco-esque numbers, he should be rated higher than he is.
Oh, I completely agree with Phillip Rivers. Phillip Rivers is 11th all-time or something like that on the all-time passing yards list, but he's only ever had one person to throw to, and that was Antonio Gates his entire career. Phillip Rivers, I believe, should be in the Hall of Fame, personally, just because of what he's done for the city of San Diego, and now they're leaving. It's just a shame. Quarterback I have on here as underrated is Matthew Stafford of the Lions. Similar situation with Phillip Rivers. He's only ever had one person to throw to, and that was Calvin Johnson Jr. And now he has nobody to throw to, and he's still putting up incredible numbers in Detroit. Detroit has a terrible team overall, in my opinion, but Matthew Stafford has carried that team so far and kept them in the playoff hunt for the past few years.
My second quarterback is Sam Bradford. I think the Vikings are going to be a good team this year, and I think he's going to be the reason why. I think with him, it's just going to be sort of a wait and see process after this injury, but I really like him.
Speaking of the Vikings, I think they're going to be a great team this year as well, and I have Adam Thielen, a receiver for the Vikings, on my list. And the reason why I have him is he reminds me of like Julian Edelman a couple years ago, Wes Welker in his prime, and Eric Decker in his prime. Adam Thielen has shown a lot of talent, and I feel like he's going to do great. He'll be a great option for a Bradford or a Bridgewater when Bridgewater comes back, if he's the quarterback then to throw to. And I feel like Thielen's going to be a top 10 potential receiver in fantasy this year. So,
someone that, if I say top running backs in the league, the name doesn't really snap right to your head, but I think Jay Ajayi really has the ability to be a top 5-10 running back in this league. So I think given once he has time to kind of settle in and the Dolphins have time to get rolling, I think he's going to be a good contributor.
I completely agree with that. Jay Ajayi is, to me, a top 5 running back in the NFL. And I'm a little biased saying that as a Dolphins fan, but he's just shown so much talent, and he's just so skilled, and he's a great player. And we saw what he did last season, like 5 weeks or whatever. He put up so many yards rushing against good defenses, good rush defense in the NFL, and I feel like he's going to have a similar season. A player I have on my underrated list, another Dolphins player, is Jarvis Landry. A lot of people don't give him credit. People think he's overrated, but I feel like he's underrated. The Dolphins have a great receiving core with Landry, Parker, Kenny Stills. Well, I feel like Jarvis Landry with Jay Cutler as a quarterback this season is really going to shine. Cutler likes the deep ball, and we've already seen that a few plays this year in the first week for the Dolphins, and